I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own. Welcome. So the first one is going to be a pinup board. Very cute. You can use a dark gray or black, really any color background that you choose, but I'll be using the black. Brushes, of course, to put the paint on. Even mangled brushes work. I've got some tree stamps here. You can use whatever type of stamp that you want. The idea is kind of look spider webby. I've got some oxide inks. Absolutely don't use these. That's what I use, but I'm going to show you why we don't want to use these. I have my block for my silicone stamps, and I have a couple of other stamps I'll be using. And then these adorable pinup girls. Look how cute. Now these are the ones that I chose, but there's a stack of these. If I can find this, I got these at TEMU. If I can find this link, then I will put it in the description box for you. If not, you can use gift cards, you can use regular paper, whatever you want to use. And then here is the board that we're going to use, and it's just a puzzle board. I've told y'all before, and y'all know this, Melissa and Doug's stickers are almost impossible to remove without making a big old mess, cutting it up, putting the alcohol in it, whatever. Just spray paint the back of it black and cover all that up if you want to. If you're using it in your home and you're not selling it, nobody's going to flip it over and look at the back of it. Tell them to get right on out the house if they do that. Okay, so this is just a smooth wood surface you can use. If you don't have something like this, you can use a canvas. It's totally okay. We're going to give the option here of a tray or hanging sign. I just call it a board because that's what I've got it on. I'm using chalk paint because it dries matte and it dries quickly. Compared to acrylic, it goes a long way with less coats. That is my personal experience, but you can use whatever color and type of paint, I guess, that you want to use here. I'm going to go on the inside of the little frame piece and all over the top, and then you want to be sure once you get your coverage on there that you also go down these sides, so like the outer edges of it, to make sure that it is completely black and you have a nice look all the way around. Don't forget the sides, right? Don't forget those. And then you're going to either allow that to dry, or you can use a drying tool for that, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, so these little silicone or rubber type stamps do really well if you put them on some type of a backing to keep them nice and flat. And the benefit of having a clear backing like this is that you can see through it and you can tell where you're putting it, rather than maybe sticking it on a mirror or, something like that. Now, if you're concerned that you're going to get some of your stamped area onto the black and you don't want to do that, you can just use a piece of paper or something to put on the inside to slide around with you to block so that it doesn't do that. So now I'm using this. I left it in for a reason, so hopefully nobody is too confused. We learn from our mistakes when we craft, right? This looks good. It shows up nicely. It's pretty. It's got that muted look that I am going for. So I like it. And like I said before, if you want to use a spider web or whatever type of stamp you want to use, the idea is to give it some, I almost want to say whimsy. You're going to give it a different type of edge. You're going to give it a decorative edge. Now, if you don't want to do this, go ahead and paint your frame a different color if you want. Totally up to you. You could even crackle that frame on the edges if you want to do it that way. That is totally your discretion how you want to do that. But if you want to use a stamp, you can go along, and I'm just using different parts of the stamp too. Not putting the whole tree down. This gives it almost like a webby, or like when you look up through the trees, that look, the leaves through the leaves. That's kind of what it reminded me of, and I really like that. So I'm just going to use this orangey color here, and I'm going to stamp it all over. And then once I've stamped it, I'm going to let that dry, and we can go on to another color. Now, if you're going to use paint on yours, or acrylic ink, or whatever you have, that's totally fine. It's going to do great. I put my lighter color in the background first, and then I will put a darker color on the top. That's my preference. You can start with the darker color and then put the lighter on. It's totally up to you. My experience is if you use a lighter color and then go over the top like this with a darker color, it kind of, you can see the darker color better. You just have to do it to see. You just have to play around with it and see what you think. So if you're using acrylic paint, maybe you use some type of an orange on the bottom and then some type of a, maybe like a burnt brown color, or, you know, whatever color you're going for. Okay, so if you don't have these cards, these little postcards, you could buy a Halloween banner and you can use the individual banner pieces. If you want to use cards, you can use cards. Now, the ones that I'm using are actually paper, so as far as Mod Podging them down, it works better for me using the paper. But if you use cardstock, or, you know, even better, y'all, I've got tons of stuff on my Pinterest that you can go check out. Okay, tons you can check out, print it out, and use those. All right, so be sure that you always clean up your stamps and the block that you put it on. Always get all of that off of there, because you don't later want to go in there and decide you want to use white and then the orange bleeds into the white. You don't want to do that. Put everything back nice and clean so when you start on your next set of crafts, everything is ready to go. Just a little tip that might help you out. It does help me. So here are the little beauties that I have chosen. And I'm just going to start thinking about laying them out how I want them to look. I almost want this to look like, you know, somebody's got this in their home and they've got their little, you know, pinup girls. They got their little pinup ideas. They're considering what they want to do for Halloween, how they want to dress, their costumes, the type of decor they want to use. And so these little things are just tacked down on here to give them some inspiration. You can use as many or as few as you like. You can overlap them. You can cut them with some type of a cutter. You can cut them into shapes if you want to. You can leave them in a rectangle like you see them. But I have decided I want to give this a little more age. So I'm going to go around my edges and I am going to just start tearing little bits and pieces. Now, if you don't want it to rip into the picture, just use your thumb on that part or your hand on that part to cover it. Put your thumbs close together. See how I'm doing it? To make sure that it doesn't pull into my picture and I don't tear something that I don't want to tear. Now, it does still happen occasionally, but if you just take your time, you can get it to work. Now, the good thing about fraying the edges like this is that when you go back over it with a paint or a wash or a antiquing wax, whatever you want to use, you can, it will absorb into the white and it's going to give it like a cameo effect, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just going to continue along here and let you see how I'm doing it. See how I'm holding my hand over part of the picture and then pulling away from my thumb. That works best for me. As I am doing this, I am trying to keep in mind my space, how much room I have on here, and still the whole project is not planned out. You know, I still don't have everything that I want to do here in mind. But as I go along, as with most projects, and you're probably familiar with this too, things start to kind of come alive in your projects. You just kind of get lost in that flow and you start figuring things out, what you want to add when you look at it from all sides and directions, you know. And these are going to fit good without overlapping here. So I like these, and I like that it is torn here. And you'll notice that the edges are white where we tore on the paper, because it is one-sided printed. The other side is white. I like it. I like it a lot. You can put them down for size and position, move them around. You can pull more off. You can, you know, it's totally going to be up to you. If you just want the faces, you can just do a bunch of faces. But oh my goodness, they're costumes. These scream queens they're giving all the Halloween vibes. Yes, girls, this is for us. Now I'm going to use antiquing wax on a finger dauber, but you feel free to use whatever you would like. I'm just going to use a minimal amount so that it doesn't, you know, keep it from sticking down and Mod Podge it down just a little bit. And I'm going to start smearing that into the edges and kind of away. If you use just your finger to do this or wipe, just be very careful, because the more obvious dampness you put down on this paper, the more likely it is to tear or, you know, pull apart or whatever type of paper that you use. Just be conscious of that. You want to keep it dry and use the bare minimum. And do you see the difference that that makes on the card compared to the other ones? And I will give you a side-by-side comparison so that you can, decide if this is something that you want to do. You could also use like a purple if you wanted to do purple. You could do black around the edge if you wanted to. You could do orange around the edge. You just have a bunch of options. This is totally up to you how you want to do it. And I like the idea of the aging and the rustic look. And yes, I still say rustic because look at the difference. Look at the difference. I love that. It really sells that aged look to me. So we're going to just continue along and go all the way around. Now, if you have one of the prints that you use that looks like maybe it doesn't match the background and the color of the rest of them, just go ahead and use your finger dauber to kind of blend toward the inside real gently, like you see me doing, to kind of darken the background a little bit more. But I left my ghost a nice and crispy white. Now, using a very minimal amount of Mod Podge, I'm going to go over my print and then put it down on the board. Now, what I could have done, which probably would have been quicker, maybe, is to go over the entire board with the Mod Podge and then put these in place and then use my squeegee to put it down and my roller to put it down. I get a lot of questions about this little roller squeegee thing, and it is a Mod Podge brand. So if you just go look at Plaid products and you look at Mod Podge, you can probably find that product there. But I'm going to continue along this way, so you can do it this way. You could use like a glue stick if you wanted to, just to make sure that it is clinging to the board. When I do this, I am going to, before it is completely dry, I'm going to add more Mod Podge over the top. It's going to give it some wrinkles and buckles and lift and make it look older. So now they're all together and they're looking beautiful and they're looking so pretty. So here's my Mod Podge brush. Again, you can go and look and see. It's just a 2-inch thing. Now my glue, oh my goodness. I didn't clean around my edges, which is my fault, on the bottle, and it got yucky. We talk about the glue boogers. Well, it got some in there and it fell into the bottle because I didn't take the time to clean it off like I should have. So tip to you, make sure you keep the edges of those clean, and if you put a little Vaseline or something like that on there, it should help you keep it nice and clean so you don't have to worry about picking the little crusties out of your Mod Podge. So I'm going to evenly go over here. Now, see where I'm going over the edge of the board with the Mod Podge? I should not have done that, because if you go over it once, maybe it's not a big deal, but to smooth it out and get a nice finish, it bleeds. So it kind of smeared it a little bit, which, totally fine, whatever. Lesson learned. If you don't like that look, then you do not want to put Mod Podge on top of your edging there. I mean, it's made for paper, right? It's made for paper. It's not made for this type of thing. But I just thought I would try it because I like the idea of using all the tools that I have, because you might not have everything that I have and that I use on a regular basis, but you might have something that you haven't tried yet, right? And if it'll work and I try it out first, it's perfect. Now, part of my clip is missing, but what I did is took the white Halloween, that stamp, and I painted a little bit of white chalk paint on it and then stamped it over the top. And then now I have a little pumpkin. I got a little bit of that chalk paint. You can see what I'm doing now. Lightly brushing it on there. You don't want to dip it into the paint because it is going to smear and get gloppy. You just want to kind of lightly put over the top of it. And then I'm adding some little stamps to the board. The pack of paper that I got came with stickers, so I also added 4 of those stickers that are not the same as the ladies that are already on there. So we have even more little Scream Queens on there. And then for this little ghost, I'm just carefully going over it with some more white chalk paint. And I'm going to put it down and stamp it. Now, don't press hard or it will slide. All you really have to do is just put it down. You don't want to slide and smear it all over the place, right? We don't want to do that. So I'm just adding them here and there, and I'm also going to add it along the edges. Just little bits here and there, not the whole body. I'm not aiming for the whole body. I'm just getting little figures here and there, little designs. And you've already got chalk paint on the bottom. If you wanted to use acrylics, you could definitely do that here on top of that chalk paint, and it should stay in place for you. Oh, I'm loving this. Again, we're going to clean all this off. Now I'm getting all this off because now I just want to use the face of this ghost stamp. I don't want to use the whole thing. So I'm going to wipe it down. I'm going to use my finger and just dot it right on the mouth and the eyes, which, yes, I could also draw it, but not everybody can draw. So I'm, again, showing you options. You can put little faces on your pumpkins, and then now you will have some cute little jack-o'-lanterns. It doesn't have to be directly in the center. Wherever you put them, that's where they're looking, right? Make sure you don't get any white any other place. And then we'll just add little faces. Look how cute! Now, if you want to make this a hanging sign, you can grab some orange ribbon or thin ribbon or some jute or whatever you decide that you want to use. And then we will make a very easy hanger for this. This is currently hanging in my workspace. I love this so much, and I have lots more paper and stickers left from this. So if you like this, then I would love to know, because I would be very happy to create some more of these in this pinup theme. So super cute. How empowering. Look at them. Look at them. I love it. Okay, so I've just tied knots in the ends to give it a little more to cling to. I like to use the knots on here, especially when you put a little piece of scrap cardboard or scrap paper there. It just keeps everything from sliding around. It kind of locks it into place. You know, more surface area to add the glue so that it stays down. I'm just using a scrap of paper. This is the backing for some stickers or something that I had from Dollar Tree. You can see you can tell that's what it is. And then I'm just going to put it right above the knot to help hold it in place. And that will create a very easy hanger for you to put wherever you like in your office or your bathroom or your bedroom or your workspace or your craft room, wherever you would like. And if you just want to use it as a tray, seal it with some Mod Podge, and then you can put dry things on it. Like if you want to put your notepad on there and you want to put some pencils down, you can certainly do that. Very cute. You could also just use it as a leaner if you wanted to. I love this so much. I love it so much, and I hope you do as much as I do. Really super cute. Look at the little ginger pirate in the middle. I love her. She's so cute. She's probably my favorite one, and I did put her in the middle because I'm a ginger. So yeah. Look, we got a bee and a little circus girl. Spider woman. So cute. Thank you to my channel members. You guys are amazing. I've added some new things over there if you want to go check it out. Halloween Party House is next. Y'all know that y'all like a good old light up project. Here we go. We're going to need some black paint and a brush, a little bit of tape, some of the stickers that I used, but you can use printables of any type. This one little piece that I found at Dollar Tree recently in the springtime, and then a couple of little blocks to help be a support. So, of course, we're going to start off by painting everything. This is an easy project, y'all, so do not be intimidated by this. We're going to do lights because I love lights, and I love lights in the Halloween projects and holiday projects. They're just fun to me. They just add a little bit of whimsy with the light and something unexpected. Oh my goodness, yes. And so I don't use those lights that you just saw. I don't use those because they didn't give me the illumination that we needed. So I switched over to string lights, which I will show you shortly. Now I'm going to paint the front, the back, and the bottom. And then I will let that dry. And then I'm also going to paint the green blocks in a black as well. Now the sides that are going to be touching each other, we're going to glue those two green ones together and glue it to the board there, the piece of wood. We don't have to paint that part. You can, it's not going to hurt anything, but it's not necessary. making sure I get inside the windows and all around there with a solid coverage. And then I'll paint these too. And again, if you don't have a heat tool to use, then you can also use a fan, if or a hair dryer if speed is important, if you're making a lot of projects. If not, just leave it overnight or leave it while you have a coffee break and walk away. All right, so I got some new glue that I got from TEMU I wanted to try out. And I leave it in here so you can see real time how long it takes to dry. So you'll see me doing some things and whatever, but I don't cut anything out because I want to show you how quick it is. I'm just gluing one of the blocks to the bottom and one of the blocks to the other one. This is the information on that. If I can grab that link, I'll put it down there for you. I am an affiliate for TEMU, but look at that. Look how fast that is. Oh, that's amazing. I am an affiliate, but you can get your projects and products wherever you like. All right, so that I went ahead and painted it so that the entire thing is solid. And I'm going to choose, I've counted, there are 6 windows, and well, 5 windows in the door. And I am going to choose which ones I want to use. I decided to use the ones with the white background because they are going to glow a little bit brighter. So you can really see the detail in these little pieces. Now, these are stickers, but I'm not using those as stickers. I'm going to leave them on the backing. And I'm going to use these as like you would if you had little printouts. All right. And there you go. I got 6 of them. We can continue to cut them down if we want. Now we're going to look at our house and decide which one we want to go in which window. Look at the witches. The little trio of witches right there. These are super cute. I want to see, I would like the idea of someone standing in the door because to me it makes more sense than putting like a half body in the doorway. Just dangling there. You know what I mean? My mind wouldn't let me do it. But you do you. Whatever you want to do. I mean, it's all your imagination anyway. Crafting is your own inspiration. And, I say making it my own. That's my channel name. That's the whole point. That's what I want you to do. And I do say it a lot because I really want you to get that, if nothing else, from my videos. You don't have to do it exactly like me. You don't have to do it exactly like the other YouTubers who have millions of views. No, you don't have to do that. You do what is cute and good for your home and your family and your life, right? Whatever brings you that joy, that's what I want you to do. So I'm just using a little bit of tape to put these down. You can use hot glue if you want to, but it's just too big of a mess, and this is quicker. You don't have all the webs and you don't have the bulk of the glue on there, and you're not burning your fingers touching these smaller surfaces. You can easily trim around where you need to trim. No need really to cut these into any particular shape. You'll see me trim these up. If they overlap one another in a window, then I'll cut them a little bit smaller just to make sure that it doesn't overlap. And the reason is because once you have a light in the background, you're going to see the line from that other picture's corner or overlap. You know what I mean? And that would drive me nuts. Y'all know how I'm about that kind of stuff. That would just drive me bonkers. So, a little bit of tape, choosing where we want everybody to go, locking them down in place. This is easy. This is a very easy part. The fun part, making these decisions. Where do we want to put them? Where do they want to go? See, I've removed her legs because I don't want her overlapping. I don't want her being in the way of the other windows. Plus, you got to consider where you're putting down your tape as well. And you don't want your tape to overlap. If you are new here, I welcome you. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up so that YouTube knows that I am working hard over here and growing my channel and giving you the types of things that you like to see. And if you are enjoying these Halloween videos, would you mind giving me a pumpkin or some type of a Halloween something down there in the comment section? It can be a ghosty or a witch or anything, a zombie, doesn't even matter. I love to know when you come and visit and you stay to watch me complete these projects to see how they turn out. All right, so we're moving right along. I'm letting you watch my process here. Once everything is taped into place, look how adorable. I left the house very basic with black. We're not doing shading. We're not doing anything like that. Choose whatever type of string lights you want to use. I use mine over and over in my projects. When I break the projects down, I just wrap them up. Well, that looks like I tangled it up. Um, and then I use them again. I just use them over and over. You know, you can't possibly make every craft that everybody makes every time, especially as many as some of us make. You can't do that. You just make the ones that you like, right? Now you're going to go around with tape. I just started off by gluing and then glue the base down. But you're going to go around with tape and you're going to make sure that those lights overlap into the windows and in the door where your people are. And you can move those around until you get them in the right position. Now I wanted a piece of black fabric to go on here, but then I thought, well, we want something lighter colored to reflect the light and really make that glow. If you use black, it's not going to do that. This napkin that I have is white on one side and black on the other. If I had a piece of paper that was white and black, I would have used that. But I'm using this napkin just to show you that even if all you have is a Halloween napkin, you can use it. It's a 2-ply, but I don't want to tear it apart because I want the white backing on there. So if it starts to come apart, just add a little bit of glue and stick it back together. It's easy. It may take a tiny bit more of your time, but it is worth the look that you get from it, believe me. And this is just because I don't want the back being messy too, that it's going to cover it up. So it's giving us kind of reflecting the light, and it's also giving us a darker background so you don't see all the wires that are in there. When you glue it in place, and you can patchwork it like I had to, because I've still got to do those peaks up there, then you can just use like a little sander or something to sand away all of your edges. And don't worry, we're going to go back over that and clean that up so you won't see the white edges from the napkin. Go all the way around, make it nice and neat. And I even found in the end screen that there were a couple of pieces that I didn't get off, but you just go back in there and you just nip it off. Not a big deal, right? You can use a fingernail file to get in there in those small, tight, angled places. So I'm going to go around the top now, and we're doing those other pieces of roof line with the same technique, a little bit of glue, and then you'll go back and sand it off. If you use fabric or paper, you don't have to be as gentle with it. Obviously, I have to be very ginger with it because it's tissue. It's very thin. All right, and then I'm going to go back over with some black. And then look, y'all. Look how cute. Look at our little Halloween party house. Very cute. These lights I get from TEMU, they have 3 different settings. They have a flash that is fast and one that's a little slower. So I'm warning you now, I'm going to show you what it looks like while they're flashing. So look away if that bothers you. And there we go. If you want to look like they got a disco ball or some party lights going on in there, check that out. Super cute. Super cute. And this is what it looks like if it is set up without any lights on it. Very cute. And this is where if you wanted to embellish the front, you certainly could, but I wanted to keep it beginner friendly. And this is what it's going to look like at night. Adorable. I love it, and I hope you love it as much as I do. To start off, we're going to have some of these little candles from Dollar Tree. Here's the information, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview first, and then I'll tell you what each item is going to be. Ribbon or trim that you might want to use. I got this pack of 4 canvases, and these actually came from TEMU, but you can get yours wherever you want. If you can't buy canvases, you can always print these out, and I believe these are 8x10s, and they're just little spooky Halloween themed pictures. Cute. We're going to do some different things to each one of these. We're going to use some Dollar Tree products. So we're going to use a cutting board, one of these frames with the glass, a checklist board, and then this little hanging photo. And you can see all of their information there. We'll start with the first one, which is our haunted house.
We're going to start with this one. The little creepies on the side is going to be a little too much. So what we're going to do is, to fit in the 5x7 piece, we're going to cut this and we'll save the little creepies for another time, and we're just going to use the house. This is my paper cutter. If I can find the link to it, I'll add that in the description box for you. We can just take that little paper from the inside and use it as a template and cut. You are free to use your scissors to do this. Whatever you have to cut your piece out is totally fine. So we'll put that one aside for another project. And we still have to trim it down just a little bit, and I just decided I'd rather sacrifice the bottom section so that we can have all of the house and some of the sky in there. I'll line it up and just cut that. And now we have the perfect size picture to go in the frame. We don't have to worry about the white on the side because it'll be behind the black. Of course, we're going to use some string lights. These are linked for you below also. Use whatever kind you like. To do it a simple way, you can just put your lights around the box to the back of the frame. But we're not going to do that. We're actually going to use these lights to go in the windows and doors of this little canvas. I've done this before on a larger scale in a shadow box. It was so well received that I thought that to make it a little more possibly Dollar Tree friendly, or with items that you're more likely to find, like printing your own pictures out and using a Dollar Tree frame, but perhaps you can do something similar on your own if you like these light up projects. So depending on how many little lights you have on your strand, it's going to depend on how many lights that you might want to put in your windows or your doors. You can put them together, and I'm showing you how you can double them up by putting them side by side and twisting that strand, because it is only on wire. You know, it's a thin wire. You can bend it. I've never had a problem with these breaking. They're just very flexible and very thin. So I am leaving the lights on while I do this so that I can get my placement right. And I put it on the back of the canvas and turn it over and look at it and see if it is positioned correctly. And then I'll put it back down, holding it in place, grab a piece of Scotch tape and just tape it down. I found that using tape to do these is a lot easier than trying to use glue, because the glue is going to leave bubbles. It's not going to lay flat. It won't hurt the strand of lights. In my experience, I've used glue on these before, and hot glue has never been an issue. And it's not going to grab fast enough with any other type of glue, so Scotch tape is perfect for me. Look at that. Don't you love that glue? I know that you can get these in a bright white, or you can get them in that kind of a natural yellow light, which is what I always choose, given the choice. They just look warm and mysterious to me. We're down to our last little window. Now put that in place. Isn't that pretty? Already, to me, that looks so pretty. So you want to be sure that you're using all of your lights, and that the only lights are in the places that should be lit up. So if you had a moon up there, you could put it on the moon, you know, whatever you want to use for that. I'm going to tape these in place and then tape over any wire so nothing gets pulled apart. Hey, if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe. I am always going to bring you unique ideas that are a little outside of the box, because I know when you come to my channel, that's what you're looking for. So I'm going to give that to you in the most budget-friendly way possible. Did I say friendly? I meant friendly. You know what I mean. It's been one of those days. It's always one of those days. If you followed me long enough, you know it's always one of them days. Let's just be honest. I'm a mess. Okay, so now I'm just going to use a tiny bit of hot glue to smear around here on the edges, which will be behind the frame, to put that original display piece back on there. You want to be sure that you cover it completely. You see how you can see the light through the side? We don't want that. We want it all to be blocked out. You want to put something behind it that's dark so that you can see the light really bright in there. Okay, so I'm going to pull the back off because we really don't need that. You can put it back on if you want, but then you'd have to worry about feeding that light box through there, and we don't want to do those things, do we? No, it's too much trouble, and we don't have time for that. We're busy women and gentlemen, aren't we? Just using a little bit of hot glue, I'm going to pop these back on. This is not heavy, so it's going to stay. We're not going to have to worry about anything falling off. Then I'm just going to glue the box where I can still get to the little toggle to turn it on and off. And I'm trying to find the best way to do it where it won't be in the way. So I'll just sit it right down here with the little control on the side. To help it stand up, instead of hanging this, you have that option. You can use some of these little squares that you get from Dollar Tree. I'm adding a little bit of glue, put them down on the paper that I just peeled off, and why not? It's there. May as well. It'll save a little bit of money. And then I'll paint these black. I'm not really concerned about the bottom that is glued down. You don't have to have paint on that part because it'll be up against the whatever you set it on. If you set it on the table, that part's going to be on the bottom. Totally up to you. You want to paint the whole thing, you go right ahead and do that. You don't want to make these exactly square. You want to bump them up just a tad so that it slightly can push backwards. Otherwise, it's going to keep falling forward. I hope that made sense. And you can see that it stands up okay. Does absolutely fine. And this is like I don't even know if this is really glass. I think it's plexi or something. This is how it looks. And you can turn it on and off. And here's another look at it. I really like this, and I hope that having made this easier version of this for y'all, that you enjoy this and that you consider making something like this of your own. I love these canvases. They're so spooky and creepy, I think. The pumpkin riser is next. So here's that trim again. This is a pedestal from Dollar Tree. It is not glass or whatever they normally use. It's like a resin. We're going to use this pumpkin print, and we're going to use the cutting board. I'm laying it down on top of the cutting board and pressing down to show you that you can do it this way. I'm trying to find the right placement while I'm looking at it. If you turn it upside down and try to trace it out, you're not going to be able to see what you're capturing on your board. Does that make sense? You're not going to be able to see where it's at. You might cut it off, you might get it in the way, and you might have to keep redoing it. If you do it this way and you press that canvas or your paper down while you're holding it, you can get a little idea of where your edges are, and you can see how much it's actually going to be on the top of your riser. Just pushing, nothing magical. When you turn it over, you can see that outline. And I'll take my scissors. I don't want to cut it too short, so I'm going to go to the outside of the original lines that I pressed in just a little bit, because we'll be able to take the excess off when it is time to do that. All the way around until you get back to the start. So here is our bamboo cutting board. It's a little slick, so I'm going to grab a piece of sanding paper. This comes from my micro sander, which I don't know what I did with it at the moment, so I just grabbed a little piece of the paper, and I'm going to go over this. When you do this, it helps to lift the fibers of the wood up, which is going to give you a little more grip when you put your glue down to hold on to that. So take a wipe and get all that residue off of there. This is a dry wipe. You can see the difference between what I cleaned and the shiny part on the back. I'll use dishwasher Mod Podge simply for me because it's thicker than regular Mod Podge, and I want something thick to cling to that canvas because the canvas will try to lift up. It's not like regular paper. It will try to lift up on the corners. So it's going to be important that you use thin layers, both on the board and on the canvas. And then I'll show you what else that I have done that helps me to do these types of projects, and hopefully it will help you too. And I'm just using a flat brush because I want this to be as even as possible. Very light and even. I'm going to flip that over, and I scraped off most of that. You can see, and I scraped it off on a scrap of paper over there. You want to use a small amount to go over the back of this. When you put this on, rather than putting it on immediately, if you allow it to start getting tacky or dry just a little, it will help. And so using my heat tool, I'm going to go over that board just for, not even a whole minute, I think. and it started to get a little bit sticky. So then I'm going to take that canvas, which I did not heat. Don't heat your canvas, it might wrinkle. I don't know, it might not, it may be fine. And I'm going to press that down on top. I'm pressing it with my hands where I can feel it. I can tell it's not slipping on top of that bamboo. And that's one of the reasons that I'm a hands-on crafter, and you don't see me wear gloves that often, because I can feel with my hands and tell if there's a bubble, if there's a wrinkle, if there's something that doesn't quite feel right, if there's, air or glop under there, I can feel it. And then I'll go over it with my squeegee. Then I'm going to just put a piece of plastic, and this is just a scrap. I got it off of some decals I had. Gonna put it around there and leave it open on the edges because I want it to have air to dry, but I'll put weights on it and I'll leave it until the next day. It's not completely cured, but it is dry. So now we're going to deal with that excess on the edge. I'm just using this round that I have recycled a few times, and I'm using it so that when I use my knife to cut through, it cuts into the wood and not my tabletop. Although my tabletop is pretty banged up, I'm trying to be better to it than I used to be. Right? You live, you learn. So I'm going to continue around here. If you put that blade on there flat and hold it flat against the edge of the board, it won't pop up and down and cause you to cut into the board. Just keep it down, the tip of it down into the surface of what you're cutting into, and you should do fine. And then go back in and trim up any places that you see you might have missed or not made a very clean cut. So this is a top where you would put your candles, but we're going to flip it over because we want a flat surface so we have more area to glue onto the board. If you want to go ahead and sand the bottom of this, you can do that. I'm going to use Fix All adhesive and some hot glue. And this is Gorilla Glue that I use. Nothing is, it's not sponsored or anything. And I'm going to get it in the right spot quickly, hold it in place. And then once that hot glue has had a minute or two to set up, we'll move on to decorating. This trim I got at Goodwill, where I have gotten most of my trims and my sewing notions, beads, buttons, and stuff like that. You can also use any type of ribbon that coordinates or that you like to go along with whichever canvas that you choose or whichever printout that you choose. All right, continue along. I like to put tension on it with one hand, so you'll see me with my right hand putting tension on it and kind of guiding it with my left hand to lay it flat. And that makes sure that my edge doesn't go up and down, it's not bumpy, and it has a nice clean finish. Now, I did not go over the top of this with Mod Podge. If you would like to seal it, if you plan on, I wouldn't necessarily put it any place that it's wet. I'm thinking something like this would be really cute if you put it, at your coffee bar and put some candles on it, or if it's beside your bed or in the bathroom and you put your rings or your jewelry for the next day on it, or maybe you put your medicine bottles on it if you have prescriptions or vitamins. It's just a little something different that you can have whatever options you can think of. It's totally fine to do with this, right? Use your imagination. What do you use risers for in your home? And if you don't use risers, or this one's too tall, you can use just the top, or you can use a shorter pedestal underneath. That is really up to you. So before I got finished, I thought I was done. I thought, you know what, let me just put a little bit right in the middle in case you do have this pedestal and you want to dress it up just a little bit more. You can take that same piece of trim or ribbon that you use and just add a little bit of glue and go around that middle ring that's flat, and it's almost a perfect fit. And there you go. And you can put your glasses on there. You can put your remote for the TV so you can watch your Halloween shows. You can put a bowl with some Halloween snacks, some caramel, some candy corn. So many options. The ghost with the floating candles is next. So we'll use a little wood cut out from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use my little ghosty canvas for this one. And the checklist. We're going to turn that sideways, of course. And we're going to use this on one side. We're going to cover this up with some black. I have ink black chalk paint, but you can use whatever type of paint you want. I will tell you, I started off with just doing this area, but I went back over and painted the entire thing black. And you will see shortly why I do that. If you use a slanted brush with a little tip on it, you can get right in there without getting it all over the place. While I was doing that, I noticed there were some splinters, so I went back in with that same little piece of sandpaper and just kind of dusted over the edges and the corners and any place that might make me compromise my fingers, right? Now we're going to use a furniture repair marker to do this. I think this is maple that I chose to color this. Whether or not you color is completely your choice. I like the idea of showing you different ways you can do things, and not everybody has the wax paints and the waxes to use. So you can always use a regular paint. If you want to use a paint, you can use a furniture repair marker, which is so easy to use and it flows so good. It really does. I love playing with these things. I'm going to go over the inside edges and the outside edges too to complete this frame. And then just to show you, if you wanted to do shading, you can start in the middle and kind of drag it outwards. Toward the inside, it'll be a little bit less. Toward the outside, a little heavier. It just gives you a little shading and gives it more of a rustic look. And I think with the picture, rustic is really good. On the outside of the canvas, you'll see a white trim. I'm going to use my trimmer here to just trim that off and take the white away. You can go over this with a black marker if you want. You can use your same furniture repair marker to go over the edge if you want. You can use your scissors or a rotary cutter, whatever tool you have. So we got that off, and that looks much better. I'm happier already with that. You see, I could see my lines through there on my background. It was driving me nuts. So that's when I decided, you know what, let's go back in and let's just cover all of it with black, and then we won't have that issue. Worked perfectly. I went ahead and gave it a little blast of heat to let it set quickly. And now we're going to move on back to the canvas, which I'm going to use the wax for, and I'm going to show you how you can shade on canvas if you would like to. I've done this before. I love using canvases in my crafts, and I wanted to show you how you can make yours look a little more rustic or a little more spooky by using some wax or using some paint. You got to be sure that you let this dry. See the richness that it brought into that corner? I love that. It gives it like a cameo look. Love it. You got to be sure that you let the wax thoroughly dry before you go on to do anything else with your project. Just leave it, move on to something else, right? I'm using a baby wipe that is damp to kind of blend, and it helps me to put down and then quickly remove, if I need to, any of that excess wax. So we're going, of course, going to let that dry. And then I'll grab that same dishwasher Mod Podge, add a little bit, and really I probably didn't honestly even need that much. And I'll go over the whole thing where it will be covered by the canvas. If you go outside the canvas area, it's just going to give you like a shiny look because the dishwasher Mod Podge does not dry matte, so just keep that in mind. Then using a smaller brush, just because I got black paint on the other one, I'm going to go in here and smear a light layer all over this. Same thing, you know, give it just a little bit of time to get tacky. And then find your position. You can measure, you can use a ruler, whatever you like to do. And hey, if you don't want to trim your frame out, you can always use a little bit of jute or ribbon or something to frame it. Totally up to you. So I'm pushing down with my hands, and then I'm going to grab my squeegee and push down, because with the canvas it's thicker, and like I said, it does try to come up on the corners. You're going to need to allow this to dry with something like a plastic or silicone on top and then a weight on top of it. The corners, to finish those, you got some options. You can use any type of little photo things or metal pieces or tacks. You can spray paint some tacks. Dollar Tree has cute tacks. These are extra upholstery pins, I think is what they're called, or upholstery nails that I got from TEMU. And then those corners are also from TEMU. I have used this before too. I just use my cutters and I cut the pin off of it so I have like a flat top to make it look like it is nailed through there, but it's not. And I just add a little hot glue. This will also help your canvas stay in place while it is drying the Mod Podge underneath. And I'll do that in each corner. How's everybody feeling today? Are y'all doing okay? Are you adjusting well to the heat? Are you hydrating daily? Are you getting your protein? Are you loving yourself and taking care of yourself? I want to hear that you are. I want to hear that you're okay. I know there's some people in our community right now who are sick and whose children are sick, and I want you to know that I am thinking about y'all and sending you positive vibes and prayers always. So using that same furniture marker, I'm going to go in here and do the word spooky. I'm leaving a little bit of room on the top of the P so that his other arm, or whatever you want to call that on the ghost, is it a wing? I don't know what that is. And that his tail have a little, I'll be able to see that. It won't just blend completely in and make him look like he's behind it. This will make him look like he's in front. And I like the idea of doing that, but you don't have to. I'm going to leave him this color rather than having him painted another color, because I feel like, again, with the rustic feel, I think it works. I don't show a lot here because my head's in the way. Even with my glasses, I've got to get close to things, so I do apologize for the blur. I'll also take that same marker and go all the way around the edge, just at a very slight angle, so that there's some shading along the edges of his body. He's really cute. And then I'm also, of course, going to do his eyes too, because I don't want to leave that part out. And I just kind of drew off with a brown permanent marker, like the edge, so it would kind of pop out a little bit, and it worked like like I hoped that it would. So here's our little spooky guy. I have some 3M. You can just use any type of, you can get poppets, you can use dimensional foam stickies, you can get the glue dots, whatever you want. I like the thickness of these in particular, so I thought they would be good to use on the back of this to raise it up off of the surface, just because I don't want to glue it right down on, right on the surface. I want it to be lifted a little bit because we like the shadows, don't we? And then when we put the candles on here, it'll cause even more shadows, which looks even more mystical and magical and Halloween. Very spooky ooky. It's so easy to cut through these foam pieces too, y'all. Very easy. I'm just going to add enough on there where I feel like when I press it down, I won't break anything. That it's evenly spaced out underneath. You'll know what I mean if you've ever broke one of these little wood thin pieces because you put it up on something and pressed down and you broke a piece off. Kind of fragile. You got to be careful. And I did actually break the one that said, the first one that I showed you with the pumpkin on it. Yeah, I sure did break it. But this one I thought was better anyway, so I think it's cute. See the shadow underneath already? I'm just going to lay it on there till I know it's exactly where I want it. And then I will press it down with my hands. Look how good that holds. And then on the back, you could see I was testing my colors, of course. So here are the candles. I have got some of this tape, nano tape, gel tape, whatever you want to call it. It's a clear, thick mounting tape, gel mounting tape. I'm laying these candles on here to get them in a position where they don't roll, because that means generally that it's flat. So that's a good place to put the tape so it'll lay flat. Seems simple, doesn't it? But sometimes we don't think about those things, and then we have to work extra hard because we just, let's work smarter instead of harder, right? Okay, so then we're going to put these on here, get the position, and then we can press them into place. And yes, always test your candles when you get them from Dollar Tree. I have some that are duds that I'm going to have to return. Always test them. Here's a little light switch on the bottom. They flicker, y'all. Check that out. And a 2-pack for $1.25. They already have the work done on them. I could have went and shaded that, but we're not even going to bother with it. Look how cute that is. Got our little floating candles. If you don't want it to be a hanging sign, Again, you can make it a stand sign, and perhaps this time, because it's bigger, you want to use some of these blocks from Dollar Tree that are a little bigger. Again, you want to set them a little up from the edge and not flat on the edge, because if you do, it's going to lean forward from the weight and fall. You want it to be able to slightly press backwards when you stand it up. And then you can paint these if you want to, or you can wax them. It is totally up to you. And look how that stands. I don't even know. We got one more to go, and I don't even know which is my best. Which is my favorite, I mean. I couldn't even tell you. But this one is, yeah, I think this one has a special place. Look at these sweet babies playing in the mud. How cute is that? They're in the mud, y'all. In the mud. The next is our Witchy Forest. So I'm going to take some little brooms, some little fence cutouts, the last canvas, and then this photo frame. We're going to take these out. We don't need them. You can throw them away, or you could keep them for whatever reason. We don't need the hanger, so I'll pull that out. And then you can open it from the back. Okay, for now I'm going to leave the original hanger, but I will be changing that up. Okay, so staples hold that in. You can just pull those out of there and get it all cleaned up and set it aside. Here is the backing that we're going to use. And this is smaller than the backing, but you will not know it when we're done. We're gonna do wonderful things, y'all. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of hot glue in the corners, tiny bit, mainly where the very edge touches. And I'm holding it in place with my hand so that I don't lose my placement until I get a little bit glued down. Just kind of smear a little thin bead of glue around. And don't worry about it if you end up peeling a little bit of the paper off. We're going to cover it up. I've got some of this beautiful velvety ribbon that I got last year from Hobby Lobby, I do believe. It is black. It is gorgeous. It has slight stretch, which doesn't really matter for this project, but hey, it's good for Halloween. So to make sure that I wouldn't have to do the bottom, I'm just checking it out to see where that white is on the top and bottom. And I didn't want to waste ribbon or cover up that canvas, so I decided to get a permanent marker. You just get a Sharpie or whatever permanent marker that you have, and you can just color that up. Of course, the other option would be for you to just trim that off, and you can certainly do that if you want to. Might have been quicker. But again, I want to give you some options. So this ribbon will go right on the side, and I'm going to line it up with the edge of the little board or backing that it's on, and just glue that in with a little bit of hot glue. And then I'll turn it around and do it here on this side. You're looking at it from the back now. So the back of the ribbon is what you're seeing. Now you can see the pretty side. And I'm just making sure that it is even with the end of the board. We want everything to fit in the frame, and we want everything to look high-end and beautiful. Yes, I love that. I love it. It looks like it was meant to be in that frame. And we haven't done anything to change this frame. Very simple. Very, very simple. I'm going to press it in. And you know those little tabs are back there, and you can just press those back down over the top. Which is great, because if you have a little bulk from your ribbon, you're still going to be able to snug that down so everything stays in place. You could stop there if you wanted to, but you know I'm not going to. Okay, I'm going to pull that off because I decided no, I did not want it like that. It looked a little too flimsy. And we're going to start working on the brooms. Now you get your brooms wherever you want. It doesn't matter what size. These, I got it at the thrift store. I'm not even sure where they originally came from. You get random things. It's just, you never know what you're going to get. So I'm going to use my wax with a damp wipe, and I'm going to go over the broomsticks and the fence. And I'm going to let them dry. I actually use my little drying gun over there. Dry them out, and then I will go back over them with a second coat to make them a little bit richer, a little bit darker. It's totally up to you. If you use a dry wipe or a brush, this is going to be really thick and dark brown. It's the wetness from the wipe that makes it a little more light or sheer, and it makes it easier to move around if you're not sure where you want things to be. Just on the tip and the end of the broom, and on the back side where the threads meet up, so the ugly side, in other words, I'm going to place this down all the way up against the top and on that ribbon. And see, we're not burning our canvas because this is on the ribbon. Press it up into there. If you get little glue webs, just take those off. Not a big deal. Or leave them. I mean, they are witches. You could have spider webs in there if you wanted. And then these little cutouts. The cutouts were also something that I believe I either thrifted these, or maybe my friend Kendra gave these to me with some little cutouts that she sent me. These might have came from Kendra. But you can make it. You can make these certainly with little popsicle sticks if you wanted to. Or you can leave them off because it looks good the way it is. But I like the idea of having a little gate down here. And I want it to have dimension. So when it's lit up for Halloween night and all the little candles around the house are lit up, you can see the shade and dimension around it. You can see how it stands up off of that frame and gives you that little extra something. Perfect. So now I just expanded that, got a bigger piece, put it in the corners, let the glue dry, and this is what it will look like. And so now we have our hanging piece. But you can also make this a piece that stands up if you desire to do so. Here is a look at that one. So I'm wondering, which one of these do you like the best? Do you think that you'll be trying one of these?
Okay, so you can find these little signs, something like this, at Dollar Tree. I've had mine since last year. Here's another little sign, maybe from Dollar General, just something small. This is the inspiration for the video, these Carnival Night Party Halloween little paper cutouts, and I did get these from TEMU. TEMU. I've been corrected so many times. But anyway, they're really cute, and that's what I'm going to use. And then I'm going to be using some scrapbook paper. And these are just a variety of ones that I picked out of a box that look similar to the theme, I think, for Halloween and for this vintage kind of carnival look. So just to give you an idea, here is the box. This is a spell book box that I picked up maybe a couple of years ago, probably from Goodwill when I was out thrifting. And I decided it doesn't work right now, didn't want to replace batteries. It just looks like a treat box. But we're going to use it to make some light up decor. So it is from Hallmark, very nice. It's flat on the back and it does have some raised areas on the front. I won't be working on the front of this book. I think it's cute the way it is, so I'm going to leave it just like this. I will start by removing the battery pack, and I assume it screams or makes some type of a festive Halloween noise when you open it up generally. But it's just in a little recessed area that's cut out of the paper, so I'm just going to pry it out a little bit. And then it looks like it was just really glued down there with some little tacky strips. I'll just put that aside, or we can chunk it. And there's already an area here for us, so we're going to leave just like this to put our new lights into. So there are all kinds of string lights that you can get. I prefer these. I get them from TEMU. They have 3 different settings on them, and I do have those linked in the description box of almost every video. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. Go and get whatever type of little string lights you want, as long as they're long enough to go around the entire inside of whatever box that you were using. And you can see that they're both yellow lights. They're not that bright white look. They're a very warm color. So you can use whatever kind you like. The other one there is just like a cork type that you put in a bottle. I'm going to give it a good dusting and cleaning and brushing, whatever you need to do to get your surface clean. All right, and then to choose whatever type of paper. Now I looked up with the paper being almost exactly the same size as the box. Love it when that happens. So I'm getting ideas of how I want to put these papers out in here to cover what's already down there. If you don't have scrapbook paper, you can use wrapping paper, you can maybe paint it, you could use it the same color, you could cover it in a little bit of fabric. I'm just looking here to decide which one I really like, because I went through that pack of cutouts and chose 3 different houses that I want to use, and then I have another one left over for another project, so be sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything when it comes out. So I thought, in order to not take away from all the beauty and the details of those cutouts, that I would just use a solid, sort of a rusty orange color on the inside. I'm just going to place it down in here, and I'm going to snug it up into the corners and onto the side there, holding it in place. And then I'll just take my fingernails and crease it on the side. And this is my little squeegee. You can do this with a credit card or with the side of your ruler, whatever works for you. All I'm doing is making a nice crisp crease in there. It is going to remind us of our placement when we decide to glue it in place, and then it is also going to lay nice and flat. So I can either overlap it or cut it off where it goes over onto the front inside cover. I think I'm going to leave it, and we're just going to work with it as it is. So again, creased it with my hand, nothing extremely mathematical going on here, no algebraic equations. We can do that here on this channel, can't we? Yes, we can. So I've decided to use Titebond because it is very, very thick. When you use Mod Podge, it's a little bit thinner and it can cause some bubbling. And I've not had that trouble with the Titebond. It's very, very thick. So I'm just going to go along on the outside areas where the glue and the paper are going to meet in the corners to make it nice and flat. It's really not necessary to go across the inside of it. This will hold it in place as it is. So carefully gonna drop that back down. If y'all hear any crackling, my boyfriend's dog is here with us this week, and I bought him a couple of little toys, and they're crackly toys, and he's playing with them right now, so he's very happy. He's on the couch in the other room while I toil away in here and work. Not a care in the world. You know how pups are. Okay, so then I'm going to just press it down with my fingers, and you can also use a squeegee here to do that, and clean up any glue that comes out. Although I have to say that this glue, this Titebond, does turn clear, so you won't have to worry about white gunk on there. To finish off the edge where I folded it over, I went ahead and added a little bit of hot glue and then quickly worked to push that down into the glue. This is just a little more of me doing that little cleanup. This is like a little sanding stick. It's got a sander on one end. It's almost like that you would use to clean up your fingernails. It works really well to clean up in tight spots and corners where you can't reach normally. So far, so good. I'm liking this. And, you know, if y'all have other ways of doing this and other ways you would prefer to do it, go ahead and do it that way. I don't do, book covering and resurfacing for a living. This is just something that comes out of my head, and I feel like it's the easiest route, and so I like to share those tips with y'all. But I'm never talking down to you or being condescending. So for the few of you who chose to make ugly comments on the last video or so, it really wasn't necessary, but you didn't take my joy, so I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay, next I'm going to choose something to go on the inside cover, and I decided to use this really pretty checked paper. It's sort of a brownish rusty color with black. Again, it looks really good to me with the coloring of the cutouts that I used. I think it's going to be really nice. But you use whatever kind, like I said. And then if you find, if you don't have this book, what do you do? Okay, I don't have one of these books. What about those storage boxes that have the flap on them that you can get from Dollar General and Family Dollar and any pretty much craft store to store your photographs? Something like that would be really good. And then you could just decorate the outside too. Right? Lots of ways to do things. All right, so now I've got this trimmed down and I can add it on the front. Now I'm going to sort of center it. I realize that the cover is larger, so there's going to be some orange showing here, but we're going to trim that out with some ribbon later. So it'll be covered up. That doesn't need to be a big concern. But again, if you use contact paper or you use something that's larger, you can cover your surface all the way if you want to. Adding on that glue again. I don't want to take it all the way to the outside because when I press it down, then the glue will squish out. It still does to some extent, but not like it would if you were right on the edge. Okie dokie. You can just slide it in there. And then I'm just going to press it down and press it into place. This is very easy to do. You know all the tricks if you've been here long enough. You know about squeegees and you know about using credit cards or your driver's license or any hard surface like that to do the same trick. A rubber spatula, whatever you choose. But if you're new here, those are all really expensive ways to get the job done the same way. We want you to save your money while making it your own. All right, so now you can see it is not entirely flat. That's okay. I'm not upset about it. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue here on each of the corners. And if you wanted to go right down there, you could, right down that line with it. But my thought was it needs a little bit of room to be able to move when you open and shut it. So I'm just going to leave it with a little bit of a gap there. Now I'm going to use what was left of that paper, and I'm going to come in and line the where the paper edge would be on the box if that was actually paper. And then I'll just cut a straight edge on that, and I will use that on that inside piece. Now because we have an area here where we're going to be putting a light, I need to be able to get to the switch to turn that on and off, but still kind of disguise it. So I'm going to just hold it with my hand, go up to the edge of where that box is, fold it, press it in place. I'm just doing that with my nail, if you can't see up there in that corner. Okay. Then I'll take my pencil and I'll just make a little line here, because part of this can be glued down and the other part is going to create a little flap. Double checking, because you know I don't want to get the ruler out. You know how it goes here. Okay, so now I know where I need to cut. Thank you to my channel members. Every little thing that you do counts, and it helps my channel to grow. So now I'm going to cut up to that little notch that I made. And now I'll be able to glue down the shorter piece to the back and have the larger piece as a flap. And I know you can barely see it, but you see now what I mean? Easy. And we'll just use a piece of Velcro in a minute, and that's what we're going to use to open and close it so we have access to the light switch box. We're going to go in here again with the same adhesive. And if you wanted to use a glue stick for this, that would probably work. Maybe even double-sided tape. Lots of ways to do things. Okay, so you can see what I've done here. If you're worried about it getting too gloppy or whatever, you can get a paintbrush and kind of move it around a little bit. It is thick though, it's thick. Not as thick as school paste, but a whole lot thicker than school glue. Okay, pressing everything down. We want to make it nice and smooth. If you get any residue, you want to get that off so you're not smearing it all over the top of your paper and discoloring it or lifting up the print. Some pieces of paper just have a print on the top and they'll come apart. Okay, now I've laid out some pieces here. I've chosen the ones that I think I want to use, and I've decided to use like wood blocks and wood pieces. These are like a larger Jenga, some little square pieces from Dollar Tree, some random little pieces of stuff that I pick up at the thrift store. You can see there's a variety of sizes and depths, and I'll show you here just to give you an idea. of the different heights you can create by stacking them or using one at a time. Because I want to create some dimension, I don't want all of these glued down to the back of the box. If you choose to do it that way, it's totally fine. I have found that there's a lot more interest in a piece when you have some depth and dimension, which again, I know y'all are probably tired of hearing that, but it actually does create more shadow and lift, and it just gives it a little more whimsy, in my opinion. You can see the difference in the shadow around the edge. These are in different, different depths from the back. Just showing you here, I like to lay it all out first and then decide how I want to do it, where I want to put it. And look at the little folks over there in their Halloween outfits. We're going to say they're girls, but who knows? Who knows? The little Halloween fairies and creatures, and I think they're so cute. We're going to make them fly in a minute. Yes, we are. So now I'm going to make a decision. One of them's flat, one of them comes out a little further, and the other one comes out the most forward, and that's the one on the bottom. So almost like little stair steps. I want to be sure that I put these blocks on here where they can't be seen. And then when you glue them down in the box, you want to be sure that you only press where the blocks are. Don't push in the middle of your picture or you're going to make a dent in it. You don't want to do that. You worked really hard, right? You don't want to do that. Okay? If it's where it's close to your edge, you're going to go ahead and just paint that a darker color and it will recess and you won't be able to see it. You just want all your hardware showing. All right, so then I decided to add just a little bump there. You can see the shadow under the edge of it when you add that. You can use dots, you can use pieces of cardboard, and you can stack pieces of cardboard if you don't have little blocks or scraps of wood that you can use. Now I'm going to take my folk art antiquing wax and I'm going to put it on a finger dauber, but you can put this on like a little sponge brush or just on your fingertip if you're not afraid of it, totally up to you. It washes off. In my opinion, I've never had a problem, but be sure that you test for allergies. I don't want to be responsible for your bobos, your bumps and lumps, right? No, because I love y'all and I want y'all to stay crafty, safe and crafty. Now I'm going around the edges of all of these pieces that I put in here. So you'll see me going around the houses and the buildings, and I'm also going to do the same to the our little Halloween folks over there. And this is just going to, when you do like a paper cutout, the sides of the paper cutout are white because the paper that it's printed on is white. Okay? If you go in there and you add a little bit of a wax or a darker color, or even were to take like a marker, a furniture repair marker or something and go around the edge, it just to me really helps the details pop instead of seeing that white around the edges. But this is a preference thing. You can do this or not do this. And if you don't want to use antiquing wax, or maybe you don't have it, you can definitely use a brown paint to get a similar look. Or if you really want to make it pop, you can go around it with black. I remember in school when I would color, I loved to color, and I would make the color really rich and dark so you couldn't see the paper through it. And I always wanted to trace it out with a thick black line. I don't know why I did that, but I just really liked it. And I guess that's carried through my whole life because that's the way I like things now. See the difference though? It's subtle. You can see it. Use your artistic eyes, y'all. Use your artistic eyes. If you get in an area that's really tight, like around the little turrets and things on there, and you can't get in there with your finger, grab a Q-tip. Put a little bit of it on a Q-tip, and you can get right in those little bitty spots. And you can do that with alphabet letters and things too if you can't get on the inside. All right, so double stick tape or a little bit of hot glue, which is what I used. Be sure that your control is where you can get to it on the top. You don't want to glue that down. And then I'm going to go around the entire inside of this box as far as I can go in one line. You might need to use two if your box is bigger, or if your line is shorter. You might have to use two. And you can certainly use white lights. You can use a copper line. You can use, you know, do what makes you happy. I guess I'm overstressing that now because it's just been one of those days, y'all. It's just been one of those days. But my channel is about making it my own, right? And I want you to make yours your own. And we have to do that by being creative, thinking outside of the box, and thinking what we can do that brings us some joy. And that's just really important to me today that you understand that. Okay? Because I love y'all. That's why. Even those of you who question me and don't understand my process, I still love you and wish you all the very, very best. Because when you comment or you view and then complain, it still helps my channel. So there's that. Yeah, there's that. All right, enough of that. Going around. You can tell it's on my mind, huh? I'm going to add just a little bit of glue and hold it in place, but you can use like a double stick mounting tape if you want to, as long as it is something that's clear so you don't see where you attach it. Unless you want to cover it, you could cover it with moss or something, which we do here shortly, and that will keep it all in place. Continue around all the way until you get as far as you can go. Mine is almost up to the box where the control is, which is awesome because I just love it when things work out that way by accident, but I did test it first to make sure it was going to be long enough. And you can tape that down or glue it down. You could also use something like E6000 if you wanted to, but the problem is you have to hold it for so long because the wire will kind of have a tendency to want to pop off, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen, y'all. Brand new Halloween is coming your way. All right, so we did the little girls, same way that we did the houses, just different heights because it's going to look like some of them are closer to us and some of them are further back. And I'm just going to make those look like they're flying. So then I thought, well, what about a little Dollar Tree Halloween tree or a pick or a branch? So these are from TEMU, these black branches. And if you don't have these or you don't want to use that company, that's totally okay. You can look for black floral branches anywhere you want, or you can take a green branch that you have and spray paint it. Totally do that. And I decided that maybe I would make these look a little bit more whimsical by having them be almost like tree houses. Wouldn't that be cool? And it's definitely something you wouldn't expect. And I like that in my crafts. And I know that if you're here to watch me, that you like those unexpected things too. So I'm just going to decide where I want to put these and lay them out. And how cool is that there's a tree in the box with them? I can put some in the front and some behind, again causing more, it allows more depth and dimension. And what that does is keeps your eye tracking. It keeps your eye moving, which keeps your brain kind of going, activated, watching, paying attention. And I love that in art, and I love that in crafts because it keeps you looking at something, almost like you see something new every time. And to me, that just makes it more whimsical and fun. And I hope that you feel the same way when you watch my videos. Um, that they're a little bit different. They're not, you know, they're a little different. Okay, so now I can move these branches around. They're wire in the middle, but they're kind of plasticky toward the outside, so they can be torn or cut or clipped apart, which is easy enough to do. Oh my goodness, y'all, I love this. And now having the little ladies looking like they're flying around or climbing around or lounging in the trees. So cute. We're gonna get those girls in place. Cute. She's cute. She looks like the moon. I know it's kind of hard with the focus right now to see, but she looks like her face is like the full moon. We're gonna stand her up over here. And then we're going to put this little one up here in the trees because she sort of reminds me of a bat, the way her ears look. Or they could be wings, who knows. Now, if you want to give it a little more whimsy, you can cut these pieces off with a wire cutter. And you could trace all the way around the inside. Or you could trace around, you know, put them where your lights are. Now, it's going to dim your lights a little bit if you cover them up. But it would work. I think it would work and be very cute. I'll take an orange ribbon. I've got a variety of different ones, and this is the one I chose. And then using that same type bond, I'm just going to make a little line here. And this, rather than being a piece of paper that could potentially tear or not give, using a fabric ribbon is going to help. Number one, it's going to disguise the edges where the paper overlaps and it's not totally covered. And it's going to allow a little more bend where the lid closes down onto the box. And if you want to use hot glue on this, you can, but I'll tell you why I didn't. Because usually when you use hot glue under a fabric, you can see the lines. It's not smooth, it's kind of bumpy. So that's why I did this, but I still ended up with a little bit of bumpiness. But that's okay. It's all right. It's supposed to look old, and so I'm okay with that. Now I'm just turning the corner over on itself to make a little sharp edge, and since that tight bond is still wet, you can pull it down just a little, and you may have to watch it a few times to get that turn. It's hard with my camera angle to really show that. I've shown it in other videos, but you're just going to turn it over on itself. Oh, my arm's in the way, I'm sorry, y'all. And go down and press it, and just making sure that it's lined up so it's not crooked. And then a little bit of hot glue in the fold where it wraps over, and it kind of frames it a little bit. If I would have waited for my tight bond to dry, it would have been better and more smooth. But you know, I got to get y'all these videos out, so that's why I'm continuing on with the wet underneath it. I know you get it. I know you get it. When you got a lot to do. My life is no different than yours, right? We've all got kids and grandkids and jobs and responsibilities and homes and chores and excuses. Right? We do. But I hope things are getting better for y'all too. Alright, so now I'm going to trim out the inside bottom of the box, just because I felt like I want to. Use the same piece, same type of ribbon here. And for this I'll just use a little bit of hot glue because I'll be moving really quickly. It's the bottom of the box and you're not likely to see it. So I'll just tap that on there and then fold it over. Tap, 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 trim it off where you need to trim it off. Look at me with no eyebrows. How about that? Just doing my thing over there with no eyebrows. Anyone else? Anyone? Anyone who are deprived of eyebrows? It's okay though. It's part of being a redhead, I think, for me. And then when you age, you know, they tend to leave you too. Yeah, they do. My goodness, my goodness. All right. And then on the top, I'm going to do this too, but I'll do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to apply it over the top of that goldish looking color that's already there and tap it down. And then when I flip the box over, I'll add a little more just right along the edge of it and then trim the rest off rather than folding it up because I don't want that to see once I have got the box closed. And I certainly don't want to create any more bulkiness that may make the box pop open. Now, the box does somewhat have a little gap when it's closed, but it did before when I got it to. So if you want to get some type of a latch to put on there or a band to put around it, you can certainly do that. But since mine's going to be displayed open, that's really not a concern of mine. So I just trimmed it off. Okay. Now I know I need to work on my flap for my light. So this is the only Velcro I could find. I have thinner and I have less strong. Don't pay any attention to the strength of the Velcro. You just need some hook and loop. And I think you can still get this at Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut a very thin piece that is going to fit both on my paper and on the edge of the box alongside of my control. Did y'all notice my nails were peach and now they are kind of a purple color? That's how long I've been working on the project, trying to get it finished. I mean, the summertime, y'all, the summertime. But I'm so happy with it. I love it. So I'm just going to press that down, and there's the top and the bottom still together on there, and I will press that paper into it. Press, press, press so that the adhesive on there will catch. And then I've got to do it again. Keep pushing and keep pushing. And you can also glue it on if you need to, but after I gave it a chance to set up, it worked just fine. Grab another one of those branches, and I am going to cut some sections off. And this way we can use one pick for more than one little section. We can cut it down and have short trees if we want to. And this is going to create even more dimension, like we're looking through something mystical and magical. The bottom has a wire, so I'm going to use a wire to cut that. And then you can trim as much as you want. You can make them tall in the front. You can just put them all in the back if you don't want any toward the front. But I like the idea of adding a little bit. And I'm just playing around to make sure that I'm able to see all the good stuff through there. Look, the little moon lady is peeking out. I'm making sure that I cut this short enough and flat enough that it will sit up against the side of the box. See the difference there? And I want to make sure that I have enough pieces of the branch that stick out that will allow me to put them flat up against the box and add the hot glue. Once I add the hot glue here, you're going to see me move quicker than I actually move. I actually hold that until it turns like a milky color, because it is clear when it's wet. It starts to turn milky, then it is set up, and that's what you want it to do, because I don't want these to pop off, and they will try to pull away because they're not flat. But there's our little tree there. Now we can kind of manipulate it a little bit. And if you have a branch that's got wire in it, just use your wire cutters so you don't mess your scissors up. And you can cut off any pieces that are in the way or that are obscuring your view in any way. So keep in mind, you can do your branches upside down as well. If you wanted to do some like a overhang from a tree, and you can do them sideways. It's just a variety of ways that you could do this. Now I trim away a little bit, add some more pieces on here. Add on the bottom, and sort of toward the bottom corner too. And then a little bit on the branch on the top, and hold those in place for a couple of minutes. And then move on to the next little section. And you can add as much as you want. Totally up to you. That's up to your discretion. And you can use branches that have flowers or leaves, or you could use eucalyptus, or you could use vines. There's so many ways to make it your own. So far, so good. Now we need to work on the bottom. Got to have something down here. I've got a little bit of Spanish moss, and then these are scraps of moss that I've used in other projects. This is like the green moss that you get on the ground, and you can buy those at Dollar Tree, and they're already preserved. So I'm going to take a little bit of the Spanish moss, and I'm going to sort of wrap it around in these branches, and I'll also add like a dot of hot glue here and there after I get it all wrapped around. So I think I'll leave that in so you can see what I'm doing. You could also use probably a little bit of super glue if you wanted to, just to dot it down. Or you could make webs with your glue gun if you wanted to make it look webby if you don't have moss. That would also be nice. You can put spiders in your trees, or you can put butterflies or moths or the little bug packs. You could do that in there if you wanted to. A little more moss here and there. These are just all the little extras that, you know, some people might not feel as necessary, and that's okay. You know, if you were ready to leave it the way it is, you know, 3 steps ago, then that's okay. Right? That is totally okay. I'm continuing along here. And no, the house is not floating over her head. We're assuming that it's on a hill back there somewhere. All right, so to put down this loose moss, I'll get it in a minute. I'm just going to use Mod Podge for this. The Mod Podge is thinner. Like I said, the Type Bond is a lot thicker, and I need something that I can make thin enough that I can apply this moss into and that will dry quickly. And the Mod Podge works very well for that. So I'm even going over the top of the line. It doesn't matter to me that I'm going over that. It's going to be covered too, and it's going to be a thin enough layer in there that you're still going to see the lights twinkling underneath, so it is totally fine. You can use felt or fabric or sand. You can use little pebbles. You can use those black stones that you get from Dollar Tree. You can use any variety of any type of whatever you want down there. You could draw little bricks on there if you wanted to, or cobblestones, or whatever you want, right? And then I'm just going to take my fingers and press straight down into the Mod Podge in the places that the moss is. And if my finger gets wet, then I know that's a spot that's going to need a little bit more moss. I love the messy stuff. Love a messy crafter. So we're just going to tap out what's left, and then there's the bottom. Nice. I like that. And I think it goes along really well with this kind of carnival looking theme with the stripes and the creepy carnival. Oh, I love it. I'll take a little bit more of that moss because I'm almost out and just sort of ball it up between my fingers and put it along the base of these trees or where the trunks are, just for a little something extra. Make it maybe look like the moss is climbing up, or you know, it's growing in a messy yard or a messy field. We're peeking through that field to see everything back there on the hill. Then if you have any little embellishments, like I believe these came from Dollar Tree in the fall section last year, you can use something like that. A little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to press it down hard enough that it goes through the moss and down into the box. Because if you just put it on the moss and the moss starts to shift or flake off from the weight, then you know, you're going to lose it and you'll have a bald spot. This is a bell that I got from TEMU. I wanted to use a little pumpkin, but I couldn't find a plain one. All I had was glittery ones. So I'm going to use what I have. I'm going to use this little bell right here. I will go in, and I do not recall if I actually show you the steps of me aging that. All I do is add a little bit of that wax on top of it. That's it. Okay, now we're going to work on the inside cover because I thought it would be really nice to have a surprise in there, and I chose to use Spooky Greetings. It's got a little wire hanger on here. And then in that pack, there was a little clock. It's like an old Victorian looking clock. I'm going to go around the edges with that. I'm going to go around the edges of our sign too with the wax. So everything looks the same. I'll pop that down. It doesn't even have to be the middle. Totally up to you where you put it. You can put more houses, stickers, cutouts, whatever you want on the inside door if you want to, or the inside cover. That's up to you. I'll take some pop-ups. I've had these for ages, and you can see what brand they are, so you can get them anywhere. And then I'm going to take 2 of those, and they're sort of foamy. They're going to give me just a tiny bit of lift, but I'm not looking for a lot on this. So it's totally up to you. If you wanted to use something as large as a bead, you could. This isn't actually going to be holding this, but we want to give the illusion that it is holding the sign up, or like the sign is hanging around it, but it's not really. Again, I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue because my stickers happen to be old and they're a little bit dry. And I'll put it on the top, and it looks like the clock is holding the sign, doesn't it? Cute. Could have left all my little glue webs on there, but I pulled them off because I want to add a little bit of moss. So we'll embellish that. You know, we want to embellish the inside and the outside. So we'll get that all lined out and just really on the top, just on the top. If you're looking for ways to preserve moss, there are lots of useful documents and videos that you can find on YouTube about how to do any of that. I'm not an authority on it. I do things my own way, but by all means, do your research, okay? A little more dimension here. I'm going to add a spider on top of the spider. You can use rings, like the little spider rings you get from Dollar Tree or from any store that you can put in treat bags. You see the ones down there in the corner? Those are just a pack of black, white, and orange rings. Then I have the rings that have the stones that came from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take a permanent marker and go along the white because my Velcro was white and not black, and just trace over that. It kind of puts a little layer of black on it so that you won't be able to see that white shine through there. And then I'll clean it up a little bit. I'm going to use that finger dauber again and some antiquing wax. And I'm going to go all along the edge where that meets what would be the inner pages of the book. So that little trimmed area there. And then I'll just continue that color up and down in there to make it look a little more grungy and old. This is movable until it dries, so if you make a little mess with antiquing wax, you can go back over it, you know, a little damp, very damp, a very lightly damped cloth, and you can take care of that. You can also go over your curves and your corners, and if you wanted to go over the ribbon, you could do that. Totally up to you. Look. Oh my goodness, I love this, and I can't wait to make some more little carnival things with my leftovers. I hope that y'all like this one, and if you're interested in seeing more in this theme, please let me know in the comments, because like I said, I've got several more of these that I can use so that we can make like a set, or you know, a little area that we can decorate with all of these things. Look at the moss in the corner. I gotta shake that out. Don't worry, I do shake it out. I made a mess. Messy crafter. Shake it out, shake it out. And there we are again. And it does close and open easily. You can use your lights on flashing. I just didn't do that, didn't show you the flashing mode because I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, and I know that flashing lights can cause problems for people. So I just have it on solid here. And I'm not concerned with the fact that the wires are showing. If you are, feel free to disguise yours in any way that you would like. You can even wrap it with moss if you wanted to. Spooky greetings. Carnival decor. These are so cute. Which one of those three little ladies do you think is the cutest? I'm kind of liking those striped tights on top, I have to tell you. I think maybe she's my favorite, the one on the top. We are going to do a witchy cauldron and a jack-o'-lantern. I found these little Kool-Aid dog toys at the Dollar Tree. They were $1.25 a piece. I picked up 3, but we're just going to focus on 2 of these today. I think they're made out of vinyl, I believe it says. They have little stretchy bands around them to keep them on their paper, so we're just going to pull those off to take those out. You can also cut them loose from the back if you want to. And this is what they look like. It's a little squeak toy. However, the squeaker is not working in either one of these, which may be why it ended up in Dollar Tree in the first place. Not going to be a problem because they won't be dog toys. They'll be Halloween decor. Perfect little shape. So I'm going to take pumpkin chalk paint to use on one, and we're going to use black chalk paint on the other one. One will be a jack-o'-lantern and the other one will be a cauldron. I'm not using acrylic because I've found that chalk paint pretty much sticks to about every surface. So I thought that this would work best. Plus, it's pretty easy to coat it less if you use a chalk paint or some type of paint that's got a little more thickness. And acrylic takes quite a few more, and it takes a little bit longer to dry. So that's why I have chosen this. I'm going to paint the entire thing black. It's not necessarily paint the bottom of the feet because we're going to be gluing those down to a surface later. If you want to glue the feet down so that you can paint the entire thing at one time, you can do that. It'll easily pop up. I've got it's like a little box that drinks come in, and I've just got that down there, and I will glue those down later to make it a little bit easier to work with. Now for the pumpkin, I had to use 2 coats of the orange on this one to cover it up, and you do the same thing. Just use, maybe if you use a different brand, it might be a little thicker. Just look at it and see. The idea is so that I can't see the face through it. Now, if you're not good with drawing the face and all that, then maybe leave it on there where you can still see underneath, and then you can just trace back over that with a permanent marker or with a paint pen or something like that. And you can just use his original face on your pumpkin, because I'm going to be using a different face. And he's got little hands, little arms. Is really cute. Just going to hold on to that. And I guess if you wanted to do a gray cauldron, you could do that. If you wanted to do, a pink or a purple pumpkin, I know a lot of people are into pastels for Halloween. So, you could just customize this to make it your own. So on the back side, I just decided to use a little bit of my Cool Temp glue to go in the little hole in the back. You don't have to do this at all. You could just paint it because it's going to be on the back of your project and you're really not going to see it. And I thought it might make it, a little smoother if I did it this way. Wouldn't be as noticeable as an indentation in the back. So you don't want to put your paint on there until that glue has set, and it will become like a milky color probably, depending on what glue sticks you use. That helps me know when mine is completely dry. Unless you want to touch it with your finger, but then it's hot, you might burn yourself, so just be really careful. If you scratch anything, you can go back over and clean that up as well. I went ahead and painted the top surface of it because we're going to do something different on the top of each one of these. So we won't see our ice cubes that the original Kool-Aid man had. Okay, so I just use a little hot glue to hold them down here so they can dry. This is just my process. You can feel free to do it however you like.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
If you are new here on my channel, I would love it if you would like the video, if you do indeed like it, and subscribe to the channel. I am 95,000 subscribers right now and really hoping to make it to 100,000 this year. So if you'd like to be part of that, I would appreciate it forever and ever, and I'll keep bringing you these unique goodies that I'll bring you twice a week. Okay, so now if you just want to freehand the face on that jack-o'-lantern, you can. If not, go ahead and pull something up. My head's in the way, so you can't see what I'm doing here. But this is the one I chose. Very basic, very simple. And like I said, if you didn't use 2 coats of paint, you could always go back over there with a black marker and just trace out the original face. Now I like to use the base color paint almost like an eraser for any little scratches I might have got on there, any eraser marks, and you can erase on top of the chalk paint. I didn't have any problems getting the lines off, but it does leave a little kind of a grayish cast, so I'm just cleaning up and crisping up that black by putting that orange all around it. Checking him out, making sure he looks good. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But he's good enough for me. You can give your little jack-o'-lantern some teeth if you want. Totally up to you. with the cauldron. If you want to put a face on him, you could, but we're going to focus on working on the top of him right now. And I'm going to choose a green paint, a bright color, make almost a fluorescent green lime color paint. And this is just acrylic paint that I'm going to put in the top of here because I want this to look like there's some type of a potion bubbling in here. You could do any color you want for this. You could do blue, you could do purple, you could leave it black. You could, I mean, you know, just let your imagination run wild. The colors at Halloween are so broad and there's so many options you can choose from. You could even use like a colored glue stick and just fill it in with that. Totally up to you. And of course the little ice cubes that were in the original Kool-Aid Man picture, they're still there. I'm not doing anything with them. If you wanted to get a hot knife and try to chop that off or hollow it out, I guess you could do that. But for those of us who are not willing to put in that kind of time, we'll just show you another way to do it. Now we're going to use wooden jar tops, and these are candle lids actually. And I am just going to color those in whatever color I like. So I'm going to use the same green that I used on that on the top of that cauldron, and I'm going to put it all around this base. I just pulled off that little silicone seal first, and now I'm going around it here. Make it nice and smooth. And, you know, of course, use whatever brush you like. I wanted to get one that was a little bit smaller so I could go around that ring, that little opening there. It's totally up to you because we're going to do some things to cover and embellish that. Of course we are. We'll set it aside to dry, and then for the jack-o'-lantern, I decided to make this base black. You could do crackle paint finish on this, you could sponge it, you could just use some antiquing wax and make it look wooden if you wanted to do that. Totally up to you. And I know a lot of people say, you know, once you get your paint out of the bottle, don't put it back in the bottle because it can cause clumps and you may put some fibers or something in there. But, you know, I try to stretch my money. So if I get too much, I just try to load it back onto the end of the brush and then rake it back into the bottle. Yep, that's how I do it. Okay, so once that is dry, and it doesn't need to be, you know, 2 coats or whatever, I'm going to decide what I want to use for my bubbles in the top. I didn't have any round beads. I didn't have any little table scatter that you can get at Dollar Tree. None of that stuff. It was from last year, and I'm crafting in the summer. I don't have Halloween items out in my Dollar Tree yet, so we're using the things that I've already had. I'm going to use some Quick and Thick to paste this down in here. If you want to use hot glue, you can, but the Quick and Thick does dry clear. And I've used this on a little bird bath that I made, this technique, and I really, really liked it. It's also thick, and it makes it easy for you to press down whatever type of material down into it. And I like the look of it. Hear my notifications going off? Please pretend like you don't hear it. I'm hoping you can't. I don't want to be doing anything that's distracting. Okie dokie. So I'm going to take some of this little, this is crushed rock or something like that. It's probably something you use in an aquarium, if I had to guess. That would be pretty too. I know you can get some of those stones that are like fluorescent and neon colors. That would be really cool on the top of here. Really make it more playful. And if you wanted to, on here, you could dry brush a little bit of gold or silver around it or a green around it. You could just do so many things. I'm going to give you the basic because you really could just go nuts on this project. But I'm just going to give you the basics and you can decide how you want to switch it up to make it your own. But I'd love to hear because I have one more that I haven't done anything with and I would love ideas. Okay, so now I've got some of these little sticks that you get at Dollar Tree, and you can just either break them in half or you can cut them in half with cutters or with your miter shears, which I have misplaced. I don't know what I did with my miter shears. It's the wrong time of year for that, people. It's the wrong time of year. And then I'm just going to use my micro sander to smooth down the edges just a little bit because we're going to be using some paper and some fabric to wrap this to look like little candies.
So I have a package of napkins because what good decoupager does not have some napkins nearby? And I am going to use the black and white portion of this because it's like a cream and black, not like a true white. I thought it would look really pretty as a candy wrapper. So I'm just going to wrap it around here. I didn't cut it wide enough, but you're not going to see that. That'll be on the back. And then if you want to just pinch and lightly twist that, you can. Or you can tie it off with a little bit of baker's twine or jute or a thin ribbon. Whatever you think would look cute on your candies. And if it wasn't tissue paper, if you use regular paper, you could always just twist that. Or if it was a waxed paper, you could always just twist it and it'll hold its shape, just like a Tootsie Roll or, candy that we have like that. But I think, adding the ribbon and stuff to it makes it a little cuter too. Makes it a little more fancy, like maybe somebody made this candy at home. So then I'll go to the other end and I will tie a knot there. But y'all, I'm getting the hang of crafting with the fingernails. Check it out. Check it out. I got a knot. Who's impressed? Okay, because I'm a little impressed with myself today. Watching this back, yeah, I just did that in one shot. I am full of it. I want y'all to know what I have in my coffee this morning. So I have a Veranda Blend coffee, Starbucks, of course. I made it at home. 8 ounces of that with some half and half, and then some sugar-free pumpkin spice creamer. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I could drink it all year long, but when you're doing fall crafts and Halloween crafts and you have that wonderful extra special cup of coffee or cocoa or chai or whatever you're having, oh, it's just delicious. To do it with fabric, and I do encourage you to use scraps for this because this is like the perfect way to use little scraps. You could even use wrapping paper if y'all have something like that, right? Or some tissue paper if you found some pretty tissue paper. You could use a paper bag. It's just so many options for this. I'm just using a little bit of hot glue. I want to make sure I have enough room left on both ends so that when I twist it, it covers up the end. I have enough to tie around, and then we could trim it off, And then I'm just going to roll it up, and tie it off. And I thought the jute would be cute on the jute would be cute, on this fabric. So I just decided to use that here. It's just going to give you some ideas of how you could do yours if you want to, mix it up. In all, I think I made 6 pieces of candy, 2 in each little sort of wrapper. And then the fact that these little what were ice cubes are in here, it helps us because it gives us a little bit of level so things are not laying flat. So it almost looks like there's more underneath that it's stacked on too. So I'll put these at different little levels and different little angles to make this look like this little happy jack-o'-lantern is full of candy. And of course, if you like glue webs, just leave them in there. It's totally okay. You can glue your little pumpkin back down if you want to, but he's dry now, so it doesn't matter if it falls over. It's totally okay. He will be stable once we put him on the base, which is over there drying right now. Now I'm just making sure when I look at it that the part that overlaps is toward the back. I don't want that in the front. Then we can add one more little piece in here. Think of all the little things that you could add in yours, anything. And then I've got some extra special little, I love that. Oh, it's so cute and rustic, fun. I think he's so fun. Perfect little shape for a jack-o'-lantern. I'm gonna go ahead and put him back down on his base. And then I'm gonna add a little something extra to the top. I'm just using a little E6000. It's gonna hold it down a long time, and a little bit of hot glue to hold it until that other glue is dry. You can place it anywhere you want to on your lid, and you can also use the lid upside down or right side up. Totally up to you. Oh, how cute. I love it. And of course, you can decorate the base any way you want, but I'll give you an idea in just a moment how I'm going to do mine. See, the paper is still on the bottom of his little feet. It doesn't cause a problem at all. He stays up nicely And I've been in there playing around with these, pushing them around, and they're still locked in place on that base. Okay, how cute. So I thought, well, now we need to embellish a little bit because you know how I am. It's all about the embellishments. Here are some black beads. And here are some of those little, I don't know if they call them berry picks or what they call them at Dollar Tree, but I've had these and I get them every year because they're really useful and versatile. I want this to look like a bunch of balloons. So I'm sort of straightening the wire and then wrapping one bottom wire around the entire little bundle. So now our cute little party pumpkin, he will have a bouquet of balloons in his hand. And if you do have scatter and you don't have these, just use some little sticks, paint them black, brown, whatever color you would want your string to be hanging off of your balloons, and make your own little bouquet. Look how cute! And I'm just using my hot glue here, and I'll hold it in place until it has an opportunity to cool off. Look at all these little candy corns. Y'all collect this stuff over the years. I'm not even entirely sure where these came from, but I thought these would be really cute sticking out of the top. Just a little flyaway something, you know, that little unpredictable that we talked about that makes our projects different. So I thought, yeah, let's just poke these in here. I think at some craft stores you can buy little kits with candy and gumdrops, and I think that is something maybe I have seen more at Christmas time, like a candy theme, but you could certainly use that stuff here. And if you decided you didn't want to use classic colors like orange and black, you could do your pastels, you know, you could totally make it your own. How cute! Guys, please be sure that you paint the bottoms. Okay, be sure you paint your bottoms. You know what I say, for speed's sake, I don't do all of that. I try to tell you what to do, but I try to also save time because I have had people complain that my videos are way too long. Which, by the way, if you're one of those people who says, oh my gosh, it's 2 hours, there's no way I'm going to make it, you don't have to watch those 2-hour videos. They're compilation videos or mega videos where there's a whole bunch of stuff from different videos put together that have a similar theme. That's what those are for people who are looking for that type of material. But most of my videos you're going to find are about 30 minutes. Let's come back over here to the cauldron. And I decided to add a little fake spider. You can get little fake bugs anywhere you get Halloween stuff, right? I'm going to put one on his hand like he's going, ah, there's one on my hand. I have a little black cat that came out of a Dollar Tree set of stuff a few years ago. Look in the $5, like the $5 plus section, whatever, and you can get little kits that have little houses and witches and skeletons and stuff. I use those all the time. It's well worth the money because you get so many pieces. I'll take this little broom. You can make your own if you want. If not, use whatever type of little broom you have. This one I've had for a while. I think it came from Target Dollar Spot. And I'll add a little spider there on the broom. He's just a little magical cauldron, but he has no face. It's not going to be like that. Now, an idea for beads, if you have leftover Mardi Gras beads, or if you have any types of beads that you don't use in your decor anymore, but you can craft with. I'm just using this jar to hold this in place while I put this on. Instead of using singular beads, you can always use a string of beads to make a bottom, to make a stand if you would like. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just showing you another way that you can do it. Or you can do like we did on the other one and just use, you know, 3 or 4 beads spaced out on the bottom to give you a little bit of height so it's not sitting flat down on the table. It's totally okay though. If you want it to sit flat or if you have a smaller space, it's totally fine to do it that way. I'll cut it off once we get back to the beginning, and then those two will be a little bit closer than the rest of them, but it's really not going to be that noticeable. All right, looking good. I love that they're round because they sort of mimic the shape of our cute little cauldron. And then right around the lip, I decided to add another row. You could add string lights there if you wanted to. You could do some of those little spider rings if you wanted to have little spiders around there. Or the ones that I love so much that have the little purple or orange jewel on them. It's like a little gem. I love those things. Every time I can find them, I get them, and I use them every Halloween and something, one thing or the other. Now be neater with your glue here. I made a
Don't forget
absolute
to
mess,
like,
and you can
comment, and
see my
share.
mess. But when you do that and you get a bunch of glue strings here and there, you can pick those out. You can add some heat from a heat tool, and you can clean it up so it looks a little bit better. For my house, my kids, my grandkids, this is going to be absolutely fine. By the way, I wanted to let y'all know I got a little backed up on my videos because my second grandson has been born. Yes, he has been born. He was born on the 29th of June. He is beautiful. He had sort of a little bit of touch and go start, but he made it home after 5 days of being in the NICU, and he is perfect. And my daughter and her husband and son are doing wonderfully together at home, and I can't wait to get back and see them. Now, if you want to, you can use any like a striped ribbon or a solid glittery ribbon around your edge here. You could do the same thing that you did on your other pumpkin and use beads, or you could use lights. They also have beads at Dollar Tree in the past that are like skulls and crossbones. You could use that there, and you can get those in a variety of colors. You could use a piece of rope. Um, you could use table scatter. I mean, think of all the things that you could do there. And then again, leave it completely white if you want to. You can leave it a natural color. You can paint it black. You can stripe this thing. If you want to give it that Mackenzie Childs look, you could do a plaid on there. You know, you could do a checkerboard look on there. There's a lot of options. And I got these little Kool-Aid men from Dollar Tree for $1.25. Go look in the pet section. It was in the pet toys, in boxes, and on the shelf. Absolutely adorable. Look at this little jack-o'-lantern. Are y'all as excited as I am to see how this little thing turned out? Because I think it is so cute. The little handmade candies. He's happy. He looks like he is ready to party. What did the Kool-Aid man used to say when he busted through the wall? Oh, yeah. Yep, see? Oh, yeah. Halloween's coming. I love the look of him. Oh, it is so cute. I hope y'all like this as much as me. Remember, paint the bottom. If you're going to make it for yourself, put it on your desk. Put it in a little happy place to make you smile. If you've got a display cabinet, how cute would these be? If you get a bunch of these, you can make a bunch of different styles. But we're getting on track, y'all. We are getting back on track. I may have another couple of Christmas in July and then straight back into Halloween because for whatever reason, you guys are definitely preferring my Halloween to the fall. I'm still going to add a little fall in there. You know I'm going to. But yeah. Look at these. So, what would you do with yours? We're going to start off with a wine bottle. This is a big boy here, and let me tell you, we enjoyed it. Yes, we did. I'm going to take some gloss Mod Podge. You can use a glue stick, whatever that's clear. I've got a variety of raffia, a bunch of different colors, and a piece of plastic. This is just like a covering off of something I had. I'm going to use some of these spider rings from Dollar Tree, paintbrush,
And then these, I'll try to link for you. They're little pieces of, I guess you would call it cellophane. And I thought doing a stained glass with this rather than using paints might be a cool idea because we're all about options, right? So these are the colors that I have chosen for this project. Always start off with a clean bottle, peel your labels off, put it in the dishwasher, clean it with glass cleaner, Dawn, whatever you use to get every bit of oils and any residue off of your bottle. I've already done this, but I'm just showing you this here so you don't forget. And then go back over and dry it completely. Okay, so here we go. I am going to stack these pieces together, and I'm not going to do them in any particular order. Just gonna stack them. What color is where does not matter at all to me. I'm going to grab some scissors, and we are going to start making almost like a puzzle out of these pieces. Hold the pieces together because you want to be sure that when you put your pieces together, they fit correctly. They won't be perfect. You know, not doing it this way, it's not going to be exactly perfect, but there are ways that we can disguise if we make a boo-boo. All right, so as I cut these, I'm going to lay them back down in the order that I cut them. This is just going to make it easier when I apply it to the bottom. Just keeping it all in line. So a few months ago, Dawn reached out to me, and she is from Shabby Meets Bling, wanted to know if I would participate in this collaboration. And I thought, oh, this is so fun. I have done bottles before on my channel, made them over, and I really enjoy it. I think it's a good way to recycle, and it is so much fun. So if you have bottles, and I'm sure you've got bottles, if you don't drink, that is totally fine. Maybe ask someone that you know if they would be willing to give you a bottle that they might be otherwise recycling, and you can do this yourself. And if you don't want to use the papers like I'm using here, you certainly don't have to. You can use paints for that, but just for this video, we're going to try it this way. Because on my channel, I like to give you lots of options and show you different ways you can do things. So we're going to start off with a little bit of this Mod Podge. Now, I went too heavy-handed. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. We all learn from our mistakes, right? We learn from our mistakes. And as crafters here on YouTube, we like to tell you when we do something that doesn't work and we do something that does work. So I end up using too much in the long run, but it will dry. And I'll show you in the end that it will dry. Okay? It's going to make a little bit of bubbling underneath. It's going to make a little bit of streaking, and you'll have that milkiness until the glue dries. But this will eventually dry clear. It's just going to take a while if you put too much on. All right, so I'm just putting this down. We're starting off our puzzle in the corner because when I do puzzles, I like to start in the corner. I do. I like to do my corners first. And then I'll start moving along. Now, I'm going to just kind of shuffle through the pieces as I go along, the little piles there, so that I don't have two colors beside each other that are exactly the same. I'm using this piece of plastic to sort of smooth it out and press it down. And it will move a little bit. So that is actually a good thing. If you overlap it, it's okay. Just take your finger and slide it. And then you can add your layer on top of it to sort of lock it in place. This is not paper, so you don't have to worry about the same issues that you would if you were trying to Mod Podge paper. It's totally up to you how you handle that in your Mod Podging process, but this is not going to seep through, so it won't give you the same mess maybe that papers would, or the tearing that you might get if you get your papers too wet. If you are new to my channel, if it's your first time seeing me, maybe here on this playlist is the first time you've ever seen me, I would love for you to come and visit my channel and check out all my playlists and videos. I am fully into Halloween right now. Got lots of videos I've already made. I've got lots of videos from the past years. So I would love to have you over there. It is totally free to subscribe. I love to be active in the comments section, and I love to follow other YouTubers and support other YouTubers. I'm going to continue along, adding a little bit of glue and then going over the top. And of course, I've got a mess over here. You know, I've got my little glue boogers. We talk about that on my channel. And I will get that off because I want this to be a smooth appearance. If you don't move quickly enough with Mod Podge as well, I will just tell you that it will start to get sticky, and as you add the wet onto the dry, it will kind of make a little mess. It won't lay flat. It just kind of gets messy. Now that maybe that's just me. I don't know. Perhaps I could have watered down my Mod Podge a little bit. Totally up to you to experiment and see what works best for you. I encourage you to always try things your way. So far so good. I'm looking at my colors as we go along and decided what I want next to what. And you see, because I keep my little piles together, I can easily pick it up and put it in the right position. Continuing along. Now, before I got the plastic out, I had originally thought I would use like a small foam brush to help lay this down, but I really think the plastic is a better idea. It does help me to move things around and it doesn't stick. It rides smoothly over the top of the Mod Podge and the cellophane, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I know you know what that means. I know that makes sense to you. I'm sure that makes sense. Okay. Needless to say, if you're new here and you're watching my video, I talk a lot. I do a lot of chatting. Not for everybody, but I guarantee you we have a lot of fun. I'm very supportive, and that's how it should be in the crafting community. Keep on adding here. If you can tell by the colors that I chose, what I was going for was something that maybe Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas would have, right? And that's one of those things that's sort of Christmas in July, sort of Halloween, sort of Summerween. You see what I'm saying? Everything kind of blends in together. And I like these colors. I like the combination. I like that I don't have a set pattern for my stained glass. I don't have something complicated where everything is geometric. It's just sort of whimsical. And I like that. And I think that that's how it should be for Halloween. And I think that for like a stained glass look, it's perfect. Once we get back to the original starting place, I'm going to add a little more glue here. And then I'll start it over with the same pattern, the same square that I used before. And in the end, it doesn't fit exactly, but we're going to trim those pieces up to make them fit when we get to the edge of this section. I'm going to link a video that I did for Halloween, maybe last year or the year before, that was a love potion bottle that I did a paint pour on that I absolutely love, still love it. I'm going to link that so you can watch that. So for the top, at first I thought, okay, well, let's go ahead and use this Mod Podge on the rest of it so that the entire bottle has the same type of coverage and it all looks like one piece, right? Or one project instead of a clear new looking top and then the bottom being all stained glass. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's add a little bit of, not a neck, but a little bit of a decorative edge. So I just took a couple of pieces that I had left, cut a couple of rectangles. They're not even measured. I can't even tell you how big they are, but I just kind of pieced them in and thought, let's go freehand here. Let's just freehand a little bit. So I'm going to add a few pieces in around the top, and it gives it almost like a crown look. But I liked it going right up the curve toward the neck of the bottle. I thought it looked pretty. So that's just me. That's just me doing my thing. It's that part of crafting where you get in the flow and you just start doing your thing, right? So far, this is how it looks. I'm happy about it. You see here how the bubbles are in here? This is because I went a little too heavy-handed. Now, this will dry. It will dry, but it is going to take some time because it gets no air underneath the plastic, right? That's why I thought maybe like a clear glue stick would work for this too, but you would have to try it. So now, to mark the lines in between, I have a Sharpie marker and I have a glass marker. I started off with the Sharpie. This bottle is completely dry. I dried it overnight. To keep it from rolling on the table and from being scratched, I just laid it back on a dry towel. And now I'm going to put my glasses on and start tracing right in between. Focus on those areas where your pieces might have overlapped, or there may be a gap in between the pieces. You can make this line as wide or as thin as you would like. If you wanted to use a dark gray, you could do that. If you're really good and steady-handed, you could do this with a paintbrush. But the project has been ready for a while now because I wanted to give it time to dry and see that it actually will dry underneath. And it did. That's how I can tell you that it did. And I will add some little pictures that I edited at the very end of the video to show you what it looks like a week out. My Sharpie, it croaked. It petered out on me. So I moved on to the glass marker and wish I had started with the glass marker. Application is so much smoother and thicker. And because the tip of the brush is long, or the tip of the pen is long, it just lays on there so nicely. This pen came from Dollar Tree. Now, it came from Dollar Tree probably a year or two ago, but they may still have them, although I'm sure if I paid $1 for it, or $1.25, you're going to pay more for that. But I love this pen. It's a good pen, or marker. I guess it would be a marker. See the difference that makes? Ah, I love it when a project comes together. It's so wonderful. Okay, so now, if you want to give it some dimension rather than it being flat, and stained glass does have some dimension, you can use like a slick paint or a puff paint to go in between. I just so happen to have had this, so I thought, let me try it this way. I'll put this on top of it and see what kind of a difference this makes. And I really like it because it does look like those raised area on stained glass. You can see at the bottom of the bottle how it is black. I just used that same glass pen or glass marker to color the bottom where the color met the curve on the bottom. I just made it all black down there. If you roll this on your table, you're going to roll your paint off and it's going to make a mess. You got to be super careful with this. But this is how it looks so far, and I love the dimension that gives. Oh, it's so pretty. So it is dried overnight, and check it out. Yes. So far, loving the bottle. But you can see here, and I actually thought that maybe while it's still wet, if you wanted to, you could get some of your rubber stamps. Maybe if you have a rubber stamp that's like snake skin or something like that, and press it onto that cellophane, that the glue underneath or the Mod Podge would take that shape. And when it dries completely, you would have that beautiful texture under there. If you've seen stained glass, actual stained glass, you know that there are bubbles and things like that in it anyway. Lines, bubbles, stuff like that. It is not completely flat and clear. So I'm totally okay with the way this looks. To me, it's a little more authentic. I'm going to grab up some of this raffia that I have that matches. Now, my raffia has come from a variety of places. I have a spool of black that I got a long time ago that I have been using probably every Halloween for years. And then the other ones, some were thrifted. You can find this type of stuff anywhere. And look, if you don't have it, use ribbons, right? Just use some ribbons. Or the little ribbons that you use that you can get from Dollar Tree. It's not ribbon, it's string that you put on balloons. That would work really good here too. And you could even curl those if you wanted. So I tied it in a double knot around the neck, the colors that were complementary to what I already had on the bottle. And I'm going to cut the ring part off of this orange spider ring. I buy these every year, y'all. I love them. I love them in my Halloween crafts. Press that down over the knot. And I guess I could have let the spider web on there, couldn't I? The glue web, sure could have. And then I'm going to play around with these. If you want to make a bow, make a bow. I didn't want to do anything fancy like that. So I just cut these in different lengths on both sides to kind of hang down. And then kind of floofed them up a little bit so they're not laying completely flat beside the bottle. It takes up a little more space, in other words. And it kind of reminded me of spider's legs, right? Of course, there's way more there than, you know, the 8 spider's legs. But you see what I'm saying, though? I love that. Oh my gosh, I hope y'all love it as much as I do. Okay, so now we need to do something extra special, right? So I'm going to recycle some of these cork lights that I've had forever. You can get cork lights anywhere, y'all. You really can. You could probably get them at Dollar Tree. But I'm going to peel off most of that glue that I had on there and feed this line down into the bottle. Always check your lights first to make sure they work, and I did do that. And when I put it in there and turn it on, it's a good fit. I twist my switch to the back. Look! Oh my gosh! It's Sally's bottle magic. Then I'm going to take that spool of black and I am going to go over the top, just around the top of the cork that's sticking out. Now, if you want to paint this black, you can paint it black. I didn't even paint the bottom of mine where it meets the line. At some point, I may take it out and paint it, but I feel like the beige color just kind of, it blended in a little bit better, that you don't really notice the cork down in the bottle. Okay, so now once that's done, I'm going to wrap it, glue it, making sure I leave my little knob out. I'll use my glass marker, which works perfectly here as well. You can see the tip of it and why I love it. And I'm going to color the top and then make sure that none of that brown is showing through this part. Totally optional. You could even cover this in cork if you wanted to. You can get those adhesive cork sheets at Dollar Tree if you wanted to do that. And then my spider felt lonely. Do you ever just see one spider? No. We see a family of spiders. Please don't be scared. I know some people on my channel say, ew, I hate spiders. Well, you don't have to do this part, but I think it makes it extra creepy and cute. So I'm going to grab the other colors, except the red, because I didn't use red in here, and I'm a matchy-matchy kind of sometimes when it comes to color. So I'll add a purple, a green, and then I think 2 oranges. 1 orange is at the top, and then I'll add another orange elsewhere. Do not put this directly on your colored papers there because it can melt it. Put it down on top of your puff paint or on a seam and don't move it, because if you try to remove it, you'll probably peel it up or tear it up. Remember, this is not completely dry yet. It's going to take a while for this to cure underneath there. Okay, so here's my second orange one, and we're going to add him down just toward the bottom. And this is what the bottle looks like. You can totally wrap the neck in that color if you want to, or in the black. You can wrap all the way down it. You can paint that part so you can't see inside of it. It's really up to you. It's up to your imagination, and just know that you're not doing it wrong. If it's something that brings you joy and something that makes you happy and makes you smile, then it is perfect for you and your home, right? I know this is a project that you can do. You are totally capable of crafting just like the rest of us, ladies and gents. You just got to trust in yourself and your skills and start somewhere.